how are ya? Welcome back to my channel for another chatty sit down heart-to-heart video where we just hang out for 20 or so minutes and talk about life. I love getting to throw these into the mix, and I've had quite a few people ask if I could do a sit down video specifically talking about how to heal from a breakup, how to get over a breakup, however you want to phrase it. And if you're new here and you don't know this about me, I have been pretty publicly navigating a divorce for the last 6 to 8 months in my vlogs. I've been learning things about myself, healing, growing, trying to implement new practices to see how it heals my heart, and just be really open and candid throughout the whole thing. And I feel like I've learned a lot of lessons and done a lot of healing and growing. And I'm excited to give you a few key points of things that have really specifically helped me navigate the getting over it process, which, not my words, but you know, that's how it's most often referred to. So the first half of this video are going to be the things that specifically really helped me. And then the second half of this video is I asked on Instagram for things that helped y'all. And there are some really good recurring themes that I went ahead and wrote down real quick. And we're going to talk through some of those as well. So let's get into it. I have said this in a vlog, but I really did not feel like I could move on, like my heart could start truly healing, until I said some things that were just really eating away at me for months after the split initially happened. My first thing is say the things that feel important and that are unsaid. Stand up for yourself if you have to. Tell this person like, hey, this is what you did that hurt me and this is why it hurt me. Now, I want to make a little specific caveat to that of, I think when you approach this conversation in your mind, it should be like, this is going to be a one and done chance to get everything off my chest that I need to get off my chest. Because you don't want to then open the door for all of these recurring future conversations where you kind of rehash the same issues, or if like one more thought pops up, you don't want to like reach back out and be like, oh, by the way, here's another thing. For me, at least, it was healthy. I started off my message being like, I am just going to do this once. We literally don't ever have to talk again. You literally don't have to respond. I just need to tell you what I'm feeling so that I can get these words out of my heart, out of my head, and that I can start moving on and healing. Because otherwise, currently, I'm kind of caught in this vicious cycle of thinking of all the ways that you have hurt me. For me, that was really healing. And that's when I personally felt the biggest shift in my heart. Next, don't check in on them anymore. Whatever that means. Maybe you're concerned about them, about how they're handling the changes, and you just want to like send a, hey, how you doing, checking in on you. Maybe you're curious and you want to check their social media, or maybe through mutual friends being like, hey, have you seen whoever? How are they doing? What do they seem like? Just don't check on them. And I know it's so hard because you have spent months, maybe years caring for that person, and you can't just stop caring for someone the flip of a switch, but you're gonna have to start training yourself to not check, because it's gonna keep those wounds open, at least for me. Next for me is just challenging myself to do things alone that maybe I previously found uncomfortable. One thing that we did together in a vlog was go solo dining. I stayed in a hotel by myself. I now have booked a solo trip upcoming in just a few weeks by myself. I am proving to myself that I'm capable. Went to church alone, tried to find a church. Church hunting alone is hella intimidating, let me say. Being able to do something that I was like, doing this alone sounds terrifying and I don't really know if I'm capable of this. Doing it and realizing I am capable of that is so empowering. So I highly recommend challenging yourself in whatever way that might look like for you. Something that was weird and I didn't expect was the challenge of breaking feelings of loyalty, especially after a divorce and a marriage. You know, you go into marriage with the mindset of, this is going to be my person for the rest of my life. And I'm someone that really, truly values loyalty. I have a lot of boundaries that I implement with like other men in my life if I am in a dedicated relationship, to where that couldn't even be misconstrued. And that is something that has always been very high on my mind. So when a split happens, it is weirdly hard to let go of that loyalty. Something that I challenged myself to do was to just be okay being a little bit flirty. Even in the beginning, even a couple months in, I challenged myself to like send a text to a single guy, or to like make a flirty little conversation with a guy at a grocery store, even if I had zero intention of anything beyond that. Just kind of retraining my mind of like, this is not bad, this is good, this is good, this is good, was helpful for me to break those, I guess, cyclical patterns of loyalty to someone that my loyalty no longer belongs to. Okay, you know how when you're getting into a relationship, you kind of have to have the chat of like, what is this? How are we going to define this? Like, what are our expectations? What are our boundaries? I didn't realize that that's really important also when getting out of a relationship. And it is really hard when getting out of a relationship to go from sharing every detail about your life with a single person to like not talking with them. So many changes happen during a breakup. I am guilty of there being like a slow fade of communication for me for the first couple months. I still wanted to share things because I had been sharing things for 6 years. And I didn't realize that that was hindering my healing so much until it truly required me finding out some hurtful things to recognize the importance of boundaries and communication after a breakup. And for me, I had to implement a boundary of there's going to be no non-essential communication. We can talk like adults about essential things only, especially if you're going through a divorce as opposed to a breakup. There's a lot of legal things and logistics that you need to figure out. So for me, the boundary I implemented was we can talk about that. No small talk, no niceties, no talk about anything else. I'm not going to do that anymore. And that was huge for healing. Huge for healing. Something that I am not the best at is being honest about the unhealthy aspects of a relationship. I tend to see the best in people, I tend to romanticize situations, and I tend to play highlight reels in my mind. And that's really not helpful when a relationship is dead and gone. So something that's been helpful for me that actually mutual friends and family have encouraged me to see is seeing what in a relationship was actually unhealthy. So you can have a more realistic view of it, and then it's much easier to leave it in the past. It's harder to leave something in the past if you think it was great. But if you realize that was actually not good for me, it feels easier to let it drift away. Cut yourself some slack. Going through a breakup, a separation, a divorce is a big life change. It messes with your mind and your heart, and a lot of times logistically, like I moved to a different state. It's a lot to process, and I realized I had to take a lot off my plate just to be able to keep my head above water. I used to have so many different side projects happening personally, like a podcast and a blog and a store and all sorts of things. And I cut out everything that really wasn't essential, like my number one source of income, just to give myself space to rest and to heal and to process and to try new things and to build new friendships and to move. And I hold myself to very high standards. So being okay with lowering my standards for myself was absolutely essential to healing and to having the space and the time to heal as well. The last thing that could be very helpful could also be unhealthy depending on your exact situation and who you have in your life, is processing some things with friends that know both of you. I think it's really helpful to talk to friends and family, but also incredibly helpful to talk to a therapist who can give you like sound advice. And so I didn't want to be too much of a burden on my friends and family. However, I do have a couple of very close friendships that were just as much friends with me as they were friends with him. And being able to have someone that knows me just as well as they knew my ex speak truth into a situation was helpful for me because I believed and trusted what they had to say. And they were able to help me see some things, back to that previous point, that just weren't healthy. That was something that I cherish. I'm so thankful for those friendships. I've grown even closer to those friends because in my eyes, they're the only ones that really know what it's like, what it was like, and what it is like now, and have been able to just give me straight up truth. And I very much appreciate that. So that was 8 things that has helped me in the healing process. And just as a little update, I mean, I kind of share this in blogs. I feel like I'm at the point where my heart is excited for the future. But something that's been surprising in terms of healing for me is that my heart seems like it's a little more resilient and has bounced back, but my brain and my body feel like they're just really trying to keep up. My brain's still processing things and working at a much smaller capacity, and my body's just so easily fatigued and kind of disoriented. So I just wanted to include that as part of my healing journey. It's weird to feel parts of yourself heal faster than other parts of yourself. It's weird, but wanted to include that. And with that being said, let's get into some of the rapid fire things that you guys said on my Instagram. I also want to say this is the most responses I have ever gotten on an Instagram story. Let me just show you real quick because it blew my mind. You ready for this? Oh my gosh, you guys coming through with your wisdom, just absolutely blowing my mind. It just absolutely does not end. But here's a few that I saw either recurring or really stood out to me. First is the idea of, I lost a lot, but I also gained so much more. I think if you're able to get to the point where you see that, it's a milestone and it's a cool perspective to have. The most common thing that I saw was mute their posts or stories or block their posts and stories. I have done some of that. I probably need to do more of that personally because out of sight, out of mind, you know? In sight, in mind. We don't want that in mind. Invest that newfound time into family and friendships. A relationship does take a lot of time. And now if that person's out of your life, you have however many hours a week that you get to choose to delegate to whatever you want to delegate it to. And it is really cool to delegate that to other humans and to foster deeper connections with friends and family members for sure. Stay busy. Less time to be in the feels. I agree with this to an extent. I also think it's important to rest, and it is important to process, so long as processing isn't like drowning yourself with the same things over and over and over. I fall too far on the other side where I keep too busy and I don't want to think about things or talk about things. I hope they'll just, fix themselves. So I've had to implement some rest, but also not too much isolation and rest to where I'm not getting out, having fun, and enriching my life. Okay, this one's just fun. It says, treat yourself to a few new wardrobe pieces. You don't have to tell me twice. It is fun to kind of like get yourself something that feels nice and makes you feel confident and flirty and cute and fun, and in whatever capacity that means to you. A lot of people said moving helps, and I have now gone through 2 breakups and each time moved states. But it is really nice to just start fresh so you don't have any associations with that person. I also recognize moving is not an easy thing to do / definitely a privilege. It costs a lot of money to move. So something that I saw someone else say is just rearrange your space. Like maybe if your bed's on this wall, flip it to this wall and just like have a new orientation of your layout so that it feels like a fresh start, something different, and maybe it won't trigger as many memories for you. Okay, this is a little bit of a longer one. I'm going to read it word for word. Remembering that we can never get everything from one person. What are things that I got from a partner that I can call and support on in platonic ways? So much happens when we ask for what we need and how much love there is all around us. I really like that. Maybe the thing that you really missed from your relationship was just like the occasional encouragement. Would you feel comfortable telling your best friend or your mom or something that, hey, I've been struggling with just a lack of encouragement ever since this relationship ended, and I would love if you ever feel comfortable, if you want to shoot over some encouraging words, I'll shoot some back, and that could be great for me. It feels vulnerable to ask people to do things like that, but wouldn't that be so cool? I feel like that would really foster like a deep, intimate connection in platonic ways, which is cool. Go on a date. It just reminded myself that I can still do this eventually. Even if it feels too fresh, don't do anything you feel uncomfortable with, of course, but maybe it could be cool if you have no intention of like being in a relationship with a person, but just like, yeah, I will go for drinks with a guy just to prove to myself I can do that. And there are people out there trying to date, Also, this one says brain dump journaling, but you don't reread it. You just get your thoughts onto a piece of paper, close it, get it out of your head, and don't marinate in that for too long, which is cool. Doing things your ex wouldn't have approved of. I don't think that this necessarily applies to everybody, but if you've ever felt maybe a little bit like judged or hindered by an ex, or they actually were a little more controlling and told you things that they didn't like you doing or wanting you to do, now's your time. If you want to do it, do it. I've done some things. I think that there's a thing in here about hair, but no one told me I couldn't. I just, wanted to do things for myself because I could, like fresh hair or new piercings or covering up my wedding tattoo, things like that. I thought this was interesting because this was weirdly important to me, and it's good to know this is important to other people. They said get new sheets and towels. The first thing I did when I moved in here was get new sheets, and just recently finally got new towels. And I don't know what about that just felt so important to me. It's just a piece of fabric. I don't know. It was good for me in terms of healing to be like, this is mine and only mine and will only be mine. Okay, classic, here we are. A haircut. I might have gone blonde after, which was fun. Highly recommend. Write down the reasons it didn't work out and be honest about your part in it. I think that this is important because it's easy to have a victim mentality or to only see the other person's fault, or on the reverse, it's easy to only see your fault. I am highly at fault for a lot of things that went wrong in my marriage, and coming to terms with that not only helps me move on, but helps me learn important lessons that I can then bring to the next relationship to make that one so much healthier. So I'm thankful that that is something we can do as humans. Find new ways to move your body. Go to a dance class or get a gym membership or try jogging. I don't know. I have started trying new workout classes since being single, and it really is a confidence boost. You feel proud of yourself for doing it, but then also I just feel more confident in my body when I see what I'm capable of. Hell yeah, you're strong. Go you. Try new hobbies just because. I've been also doing that, and it is really fun and freeing to just try something new. I think that I fall into the trap of I'm already 25 and like what I am good at is what I am good at. It's too late for me to be good at something new. And that is absolutely not true. You could be 98 and pick up a new hobby and get great at it. There's no age in which you have to stop. And learning that during a transitional time like a breakup, I think is helpful. This person, I've never heard of this, and I think this is cool. She said, I redo memories. I go back later and have another fun experience in the same place so that is my new memory. And I think if there's specific memories that are really hurting your heart, that could be an interesting thing to try. For example, I actually had a trip booked to Hawaii for what would have been our 3-year wedding anniversary because that's where we had our honeymoon. And I ended up canceling the trip, but it actually would have been really cool to still go and to have an amazing solo trip experience so that I could associate that beautiful place with memories that are no longer painful to think about. Now I'm wishing I didn't cancel that trip because that's a cool idea. I just resonated with this, so I wanted to share. This person said, I took the time to process how I felt beyond the initial hurt and anger, and then I realized I felt relieved. And I had that exact same thought. Of course, it's so hurtful and hard and difficult and painful, and yes, anger, sadness, grief, loss. Beneath all of that, for me, there was this feeling of relief of like, oh my gosh, I can try again. Like my future looks so bright now. And that has been something I've been clinging on to in the healing process and has made me really actually excited for what the future might look like. Start a project with a goal, like maybe a DIY home improvement project. I do think if you do something physical where you can physically see an outcome, it is healing as well, because you can look at it and say, I did that, and I need to find something like that too, because that's cool. Reminding myself that I don't actually desire to be with someone if they don't love me. I'm just gonna let you marinate in that for a little bit. That's good. It's simple, but it's good. This is another longer one that I'm just gonna read word for word and give my thoughts on it because I also think it's good. It says, living with the mentality of everyone is doing the best with what they've been given is really helpful in processing the hurt that's done. It helps me think, oh, this person really wanted to love me well in this area, but they were ill-equipped to do that by their life, so it's good I'm not there anymore. And I think that that is good because it takes some of the anger and bitterness you might feel towards that individual and removes it so that you can just kind of see things for the facts and not hold so much resentment towards that individual person because maybe they just were not capable in loving you the way that you needed to be loved to have a healthy relationship. Last but not least, the practical thing that I would actually love to get y'all's opinion on is deleting all pictures, text conversations, things of the sort. I haven't done that. I don't go and look back at it, but I also feel weird either way. I feel weird having it. I feel weird deleting it. So I haven't figured out what to do with all of that because I personally have 6 years of photos. So I would love to know y'all's thoughts about that in the comments below. If you have done that, have you found it helpful? Have you regretted losing those memories forever? What are your thoughts? I'd love to know. But this was a good video to film for me. Being able to put these things into words makes me recognize the progress I have made so far and the areas in which I could still improve and grow and heal in. So thank you for challenging me to make this video. On a more personal note, if you are going through a breakup or a separation or a divorce or anything of the sort, I'm so sorry. I know how hard it can be. And I know that pretty much all of us will go through at least one, probably more than that, of breakups in our lifetime. And it's a really important part of being human. That just sucks, but brings you a lot of clarity and growth in your own life. And I've seen so many people better off on the other side, and I feel like I'm just now getting to that hill, you know, the peak, where it's like it's gonna be a lot easier from here on out. I hope that you get to that point soon too, and that we can continue to grow and heal together. Thanks for spending the day with me, and if you have any other chatty sit-down videos that you would like to talk about, always give me topics. I'm always wanting ideas. It helps me a lot to know what you guys want to see. And I'm not wanting to end this video because I just like hanging with you, but I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. I love you. I hope you have the best rest of your day, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye.
So give me a sign. Give me a sign. Oh, give me a sign. Baby, give me a sign. Just give me one more talking to you. Here we go again, staying up all night to see if you've been texting me. Where do we go from here?